What if one day you wake up and realize your body is betraying you, and the clock is ticking faster than you thought? Grace sat on the edge of her favorite armchair, her hands gripping the worn wooden armrests tightly. The morning sun poured through the window, casting long shadows across the living room. She took a deep breath and tried to stand up, only to find her legs trembling uncontrollably beneath her. The simple act of rising from a chair, something she had done 1,000 times before without a second thought, suddenly felt like climbing a mountain. Her breath caught in her throat. Not today, she whispered to herself. But today, indeed, was the day that everything felt different. Grace Parker was no stranger to hard work or physical challenges. At 68 years old, she was a retired fitness coach who had once run marathons and taught aerobic classes to dozens of eager students in her small town in Colorado. For decades, Grace prided herself on her strength, her resilience, and her unwavering spirit. But now, the reflection staring back at her from the hallway mirror told a story of slow retreat, sagging muscles, creaking joints, and a vulnerability she couldn't ignore. She tried again, steadying herself against the armrest, gritting her teeth, and pushing up. A sharp ache shot through her thighs, and she almost lost balance. Her heart hammered fiercely in her chest, not from exertion, but from fear. Is this how it's supposed to feel when you get older? Grace's mind raced. She remembered the warning signs she'd been brushing aside, the slight wobble when she walked, the exhaustion after simple chores, the growing distance between her and the active life she once loved. But denial was a comfort. Today, denial no longer sufficed. Her phone buzzed on the table, another news alert flashing across the screen. Elon Musk reveals breakthrough nutrition to prevent muscle loss in seniors. Grace barely glanced at it, distracted by the weight in her legs and the ache in her soul. How did it come to this, she wondered, her voice barely audible. A sudden wave of loneliness hit her. Her husband, Michael, had passed away 5 years ago, and their 2 children lived on opposite coasts, busy with their own lives. The phone calls were fewer, the visits rarer. Grace felt like she was slowly becoming invisible, forgotten not just by others but by her own body. She sank back into the chair, tears prickling her eyes. What if this is just the beginning? What if the years ahead held nothing but decline? Before despair could take full hold, a flicker of determination sparked inside her. Grace was not ready to give up, not yet. Somewhere deep inside, she knew there had to be a way to fight back, to reclaim her strength before it was too late. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? With trembling hands, Grace reached for the remote and turned on the TV, hoping to find some inspiration. The screen buzzed to life, showing images of older adults defying age, running races, hiking mountains, dancing with joy. If they could do it, so could she. But how? Grace's eyes drifted back to her phone, the headline still glowing ominously, "Seniors. Eat this to prevent muscle loss before it's too late." Elon Musk. The word seemed almost like a lifeline tossed into the turbulent sea she was drowning in. Suddenly, a question filled her mind. What if the secret to staying strong wasn't in a gym or medicine, but something as simple as food? The idea felt crazy, but it was also hopeful, precisely what she needed. With that thought, Grace made a decision. She would find out everything about this Elon Musk was talking about. She would fight back against the relentless march of time, armed with knowledge and a fierce spirit. After all, she had survived storms before. What she didn't know yet was that this quest would lead her on an unexpected journey, one full of surprises, heartbreak, and ultimately, a shocking revelation that could change not only her life but the lives of millions of seniors around the world. But for now, Grace just needed to stand up again. Slowly. Carefully. She pushed through the pain, clenched her fists, and lifted herself once more. And this time, she didn't fall. What about you? Have you ever faced a moment where your body surprised you in a way you didn't expect? What kept you going? Let me know in the comments below. Grace Parker had never been one to back down from a challenge. If you asked anyone who knew her during her prime, they'd describe a woman who seemed unstoppable, vibrant, confident, and full of life. But as the years passed, the glowing embers of youth gradually dimmed, and the battles she fought took on new shapes and new stakes. Born and raised in a small town outside Denver, Colorado, Grace grew up playing every sport she could get her hands on. She was the fastest runner on her high school track team and earned a scholarship to study physical education at the University of Colorado. That's where she met Michael, her college sweetheart and soon-to-be husband. Michael was everything Grace admired, supportive, kind, and just as passionate about fitness and health. Together, they dreamed of building a life centered around wellness. After college, Grace became a certified personal trainer and eventually opened her own fitness studio, Parker Strength and Wellness. It quickly became a hub for locals seeking guidance to improve their health. For years, Grace dedicated herself to others, coaching clients from teenagers trying to lose weight to seniors hoping to stay active. She was a mentor, a friend, and a role model. Her own body was a testament to her discipline. Strong muscles, endurance, and energy that seemed boundless. But life, as it often does, brought unexpected twists. Michael's health began to decline after a sudden heart attack when Grace was 55. The vibrant man who had once been her rock was now fragile, confined to the hospital bed where Grace spent countless nights by his side. His passing 5 years ago left a hollow space in her life that no amount of exercise or routine could fill. Her 2 children, Emma and Jake, were grown and scattered. Emma moved to New York City to become a lawyer, and Jake pursued a tech career in Seattle. Visits home became infrequent, phone calls less regular, swallowed by the rush of their own busy lives. Grace's fitness studio closed shortly after Michael's death. The energy to keep up with clients wasn't there anymore. The walls that once echoed with laughter and encouragement now sat silent. Inside, however, Grace was wrestling a different kind of battle, a fight that no one outside her felt. She was slowly losing her strength, the very thing she had built her life around. It wasn't just physical. It was emotional. Each morning, she faced the mirror and saw not the strong woman she had been but someone fragile, vulnerable, and alone. The vibrant light in her eyes dimmed, replaced by doubt and fear. Her body betrayed her, and her heart ached for the life she once knew. She remembered a day 2 months ago, trying to lift a heavy grocery bag. It slipped from her weakened grip and crashed to the floor. Embarrassed, she had looked around to see if anyone noticed. No one did, but to her, it was a devastating defeat. I'm not supposed to be like this, Grace had thought bitterly. I'm supposed to be the one helping others, not needing help. But the truth was undeniable. Her muscles were shrinking, her balance faltering, and her stamina fading. Everyday tasks that once took minutes now exhausted her. Grace's best friend, Linda, had noticed too. Linda, a retired nurse, had tried gently urging Grace to see a doctor. "Grace, this isn't just getting old," Linda said one afternoon over coffee. "You might be dealing with something called sarcopenia, muscle loss that affects seniors. It's common but serious. If you don't do something, it could get worse." Grace had brushed it off at first. She was stubborn like that. But the fear in Linda's eyes unsettled her. That evening, Grace sat at the kitchen table, a folder of medical pamphlets spread before her. She read words like muscle degeneration, mobility impairment, and frailty that felt like a sentence. It wasn't just about losing strength, it was about losing independence, dignity, and the life she treasured. The weight of those possibilities pressed down on her chest. Yet even in her darkest moments, Grace's fighting spirit refused to die. Somewhere deep inside, a flicker of hope remained. She thought about the clients she used to inspire, the seniors who had found joy and purpose through movement. Could she find a way back? Could she beat this? Grace's relationship with her family became complicated during this time. Emma, always pragmatic, worried and urged Grace to take it easy. Jake, driven by work, rarely called, making Grace feel even more isolated. "I don't want to be a burden," Grace told Emma during a rare phone call, voice cracking. "I want to be strong again. For myself." Emma's sigh on the other end was heavy but understanding. "Mom, just promise me you'll get help. We want you healthy." But Grace wasn't sure what help looked like. She wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. If there was one thing she had learned in all her years, it was that strength wasn't just in muscles, it was in the heart and mind. As she stared out the window, watching the first snowflakes fall on the Colorado mountains, Grace made a silent vow. She would find the answers. She would fight muscle loss. And she would reclaim her life. Even if the journey ahead was uncertain. Because some battles were worth fighting, no matter the odds. What's a challenge from your past that shaped who you are today? Share your story below, you never know who might need to hear it. The days that followed Grace's decision to fight back against muscle loss were filled with a confusing mix of hope, frustration, and unexpected obstacles. The very thing she had always counted on, her body, seemed to betray her more with each passing morning. Grace tried everything she knew to regain strength. She dusted off her old exercise books, trying gentle stretches and light resistance training, but the pain in her joints and muscles often forced her to stop. Simple tasks like opening jars or climbing stairs felt like insurmountable challenges. Her frustration grew as the bright optimism she had felt only days ago began to dim. One afternoon, Grace sat on the floor of her kitchen, her legs stiff and trembling. She stared at a spoon in her hand, realizing that even small motions were exhausting. A cold wave of helplessness washed over her, and for the first time, tears slipped down her cheeks. "I can't do this alone," she whispered. Determined not to give up, Grace reached out to Dr. Martinez, a geriatric specialist her friend Linda had recommended. The clinic was a short drive away, but Grace felt nervous as she waited for the appointment. Would the doctor understand? Would there be real solutions or just more warnings? When Dr. Martinez finally entered the room, she greeted Grace warmly, her presence calm but professional. "Grace, it's good you came in," she said gently. "Muscle loss, or sarcopenia, is something many seniors face. It's serious but manageable if addressed early." Grace listened intently as Dr. Martinez explained the complexities of sarcopenia, how aging, inactivity, and poor nutrition contributed to shrinking muscle mass and decreased strength. The doctor emphasized the importance of a balanced diet rich in protein, vitamin D, and certain minerals, combined with regular strength training. "But it's not just about food or exercise," Dr. Martinez added. "There are emerging research and new treatments being studied that might help people like you." Grace's heart lifted at those words, hope stirred again. Yet, the doctor also cautioned, recovery won't be easy. It takes time, patience, and support. Back home, Grace tried to put the advice into practice. She planned her meals carefully, cooking dishes rich in lean meats, beans, and leafy greens. She started light resistance exercises, pushing herself to hold small weights, even if it meant feeling sore the next day. But setbacks came quickly. One evening, while preparing dinner, Grace felt a sharp pain in her right knee. The ache worsened as she tried to stand, forcing her to sit down and breathe through the discomfort. Her mind raced with worry. Was this arthritis flaring up? Would this slow her down for good? To make matters worse, a call from Emma that week added emotional strain. Emma sounded stressed, overwhelmed by her own life in New York, and urged Grace to consider moving closer for support. Grace, fiercely independent, felt conflicted. "I don't want to be a burden," she said quietly. Emma's voice softened. "Mom, it's not a burden. We just want you safe." The conversation left Grace feeling torn between pride and vulnerability. Meanwhile, Grace's social life shrank further. Friends invited her out less often, partly because she declined more and more, worried about her weakening body and mood. The isolation weighed heavily, making her question if she was losing not just muscle but her very connection to the world around her. One day, as Grace scrolled through social media, she stumbled on a viral post about Elon Musk's recent announcement, a new study revealing a simple dietary approach that could slow or even reverse muscle loss in seniors. The headline caught her eye immediately. Elon Musk's shocking reveal: eat this to prevent muscle loss before it's too late. The article claimed that a specific nutrient, combined with a novel delivery method, was showing promise in clinical trials. Skeptical but desperate, Grace read on, absorbing every detail. Could this be the breakthrough she had been waiting for? The more she researched, the more she realized how little mainstream medicine had offered concrete answers. Musk's announcement was sparking conversations across social media and health forums. Stories of seniors regaining strength and mobility began to appear, and Grace clung to those narratives like lifelines. Yet, amidst this growing hope, a nagging voice inside whispered doubts. Was it too good to be true? Was it just another fad? Her internal battle grew fierce. On one hand, she wanted to believe. On the other, she feared another crushing disappointment. One evening, as she sat alone in her dimly lit living room, the shadows felt heavier than usual. She closed her eyes and thought of Michael, his steady presence, his unwavering encouragement. If he were here, what would he say? "You're stronger than you think," she imagined him saying. With that, Grace made a silent vow: she would explore this new possibility. She would dive deeper, consult experts, and test the limits of what science and determination could achieve together. But even as she resolved to fight, the obstacles loomed larger than ever. Muscle loss wasn't just a physical battle, it was a war on her confidence, her independence, and her identity. The stakes had never felt higher. What about you? Have you ever faced a moment where hope collided with setback? How did you push through? Share your story below. Grace never imagined that a simple news alert on her phone would launch her into an adventure that challenged everything she thought she knew about aging, health, and herself. But here she was, ready to take a leap of faith into the unknown. After weeks of research and countless late-night internet sessions, Grace found herself signing up for a clinical trial connected to Elon Musk's groundbreaking discovery. The trial promised a revolutionary nutritional supplement designed to prevent muscle loss in seniors, backed by cutting-edge science and early success stories. The clinic was modern and sleek, far from the familiar warmth of the local doctor's office. When Grace stepped inside, she felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. This was more than just another doctor's visit, it was a step toward reclaiming her life. Dr. Harris, the lead researcher, greeted her with a firm handshake and a reassuring smile. "Grace, we're thrilled to have you on board. This study is about more than science, it's about hope." The first phase involved detailed tests, strength assessments, blood work, and body composition scans. The clinical environment buzzed with advanced machines and focused staff, all dedicated to unraveling the mysteries of aging muscles. Grace's initial results confirmed what she feared: significant muscle loss had already set in. But Dr. Harris emphasized that the study's supplement could help slow, and in some cases reverse, the damage. The supplement itself was unlike anything Grace had tried before, a carefully engineered blend of nutrients combined with a delivery system designed to maximize absorption and effectiveness. The idea was simple but revolutionary: target the root causes of muscle loss at a cellular level. Over the following weeks, Grace began the regimen with cautious optimism. She took the supplement daily, combined with a tailored exercise plan designed by the researchers to fit her capabilities. Her days transformed into a rhythm of appointments, workouts, and journaling. She documented every ache, every small gain, every moment of doubt and triumph. The physical changes were subtle at first: a slight improvement in balance here, a little more energy there. But even small victories felt monumental. Grace also connected with other seniors participating in the trial. Among them was Robert, a 72-year-old former carpenter who had lost much of his strength after years of hard labor. Their conversations were honest and sometimes raw, filled with stories of struggle and hope. "It's not just about muscles," Robert said one afternoon, wiping sweat from his brow after a group exercise. "It's about dignity, about not giving up." Grace nodded, feeling a kinship she hadn't realized she needed. Outside the clinic, life continued with its challenges. Emma called more often, her voice warmer as she learned about Grace's involvement in the study. Jake surprised her with a weekend visit, bringing fresh energy and laughter into the house. But the journey wasn't easy. There were days when fatigue overwhelmed her, when progress seemed invisible. The pain in her knee flared unexpectedly, threatening to derail her efforts. One morning, after a particularly tough workout, Grace sat by the window, watching the sunrise. The mountains glowed pink and gold, a breathtaking reminder of nature's resilience. In that moment, she felt a deep connection to the world and to herself, a renewed determination to keep going, no matter what. The road ahead was uncertain and winding, but Grace was ready to face it head-on. What she didn't expect was the shocking revelation that awaited her, a discovery that would challenge everything she thought she knew about aging, nutrition, and her own potential. But that story, she knew, was still to come. Have you ever embarked on a journey that changed your life unexpectedly? What kept you going? Share below. Grace had felt the slow pulse of change. Her strength was returning bit by bit, but the biggest shock came during her monthly checkup at the clinic. A moment that would redefine everything she believed about aging and muscle loss. Dr. Harris entered the room with a mix of excitement and seriousness. "Grace, the latest scans are in, and the results are remarkable." Grace's heart raced as she sat up straighter in her chair. "Your muscle mass has increased by 15% in just 8 weeks. That's unprecedented for someone your age," Dr. Harris said, eyes gleaming. Grace barely recognized the numbers. After months of pain, frustration, and doubt, the data was finally tangible proof that she was winning this battle. But the real surprise came next. "There's more," Dr. Harris continued. "The supplement isn't just slowing muscle loss, it's activating dormant stem cells in your muscle tissue, helping your body regenerate itself." Grace blinked, trying to process the science. The idea that her body could heal and rebuild at a cellular level seemed almost like science fiction. "Stem cells," she whispered. "Yes," Dr. Harris said. "It's a breakthrough. Most treatments focus on managing symptoms, but this approach targets the root cause of muscle deterioration. Your body is essentially recharging its own repair mechanisms." Grace felt a rush of hope so powerful it nearly overwhelmed her. For years, she had accepted muscle loss as inevitable, a sad fact of aging. Now, she faced the reality that her body held hidden potential waiting to be unlocked. Her mind drifted back to Michael, to the dreams they had shared about living a vibrant, healthy life well into old age. She realized that what she was experiencing wasn't just a personal victory, it was a beacon for others who felt trapped by their bodies. Yet, as the news sank in, a pang of fear crept in. What if this miracle was fleeting? What if the pain returned? What if her family didn't understand the significance of this moment? That night, Grace sat by her window, the stars twinkling coldly in the dark sky. She wrote in her journal, pouring out her fears and hopes. "I'm not just fighting for me," she wrote. "I'm fighting for every senior who feels invisible, forgotten, and powerless. If this works, it could change everything." Her resolve deepened. She would become a voice for this breakthrough, sharing her story to inspire others. The emotional weight of the journey pressed on her, but it was balanced by an emerging sense of purpose and strength. In the weeks that followed, Grace embraced her new routine with renewed vigor. She shared her progress on social media, connecting with other seniors and caregivers hungry for hope and answers. Emma called more often, pride evident in her voice. Jake brought over healthy meals he had cooked himself, a silent gesture of support. But not everyone was convinced. Some friends warned her against placing too much faith in experimental treatments. Others suggested she focus on acceptance rather than fighting an unwinnable battle. Grace listened, but deep down she knew this was more than a fight, it was a revolution in how we understand aging. One afternoon, while resting after a workout, Grace felt a profound shift within herself. The woman staring back in the mirror was no longer just a survivor but a warrior. She was reclaiming her identity, redefining what it meant to grow older. And this was only the beginning. What's a moment in your life that changed everything? How did you rise from it? Drop a comment and inspire someone today. Grace's life was no longer defined by loss or fear. Instead, it was shaped by determination, discovery, and the deep knowledge that change was possible at any age. The months following her breakthrough were a whirlwind of growth. Each day brought new challenges, but also new victories. Her muscles grew stronger, her balance improved, and with every step, her confidence soared. She learned that aging didn't have to mean giving up. It could mean evolving, embracing a new chapter full of potential. One crisp morning, Grace stood at the local community center, addressing a group of seniors and caregivers. Her voice was steady and passionate as she shared her journey, the pain, the struggle, and the incredible discovery that reignited her spirit. Muscle loss is real, she told them. But so is hope. With the right knowledge, support, and a little courage, we can fight back. We owe it to ourselves to live fully, regardless of our age. The room filled with nods and soft murmurs. Faces lit up with the spark of possibility. At home, Emma helped Grace set up a blog where she could chronicle her experiences, share tips, and connect with others. The blog quickly gained followers, seniors, caregivers, and even medical professionals eager to learn from Grace's story. Her message was clear: you are never too old to take control of your health. Never too late to find strength. Grace's relationship with Emma deepened as well. The distance that once existed between them faded, replaced by mutual respect and love. Emma saw her mother not as fragile, but as fierce. Jake, inspired by Grace's resilience, started volunteering at the clinic, helping other seniors embark on their own journeys. The family's bond grew stronger, rooted in shared hope and unwavering support. Grace also began collaborating with Dr. Harris and the research team, advocating for greater awareness and access to treatments that could change lives. She spoke at conferences, appeared on podcasts, and even caught the attention of local news. Through it all, Grace never forgot the moments of doubt, pain, and isolation. They were part of her story, the reason her voice mattered. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Grace sat quietly in her garden. The air smelled of fresh earth and blooming flowers, a reminder of life's cycles and endless renewal. She reflected on the journey, the shock, the struggle, the surprising discoveries. Most of all, she felt gratitude. For the chance to rewrite her story. For the science that gave her a second chance. For the family and friends who stood by her side. Grace smiled, knowing that the road ahead was still unfolding. There would be obstacles, no doubt. But now, she faced them with strength born not just from muscle, but from heart. Life is unpredictable, she thought. But love and hope will always lead the way. And in that truth, she found peace. What lesson has life taught you that changed your path? Share your wisdom and let's grow together. Just as Grace was beginning to feel she had turned a corner, life threw a new curveball her way. The months of progress came with an unexpected price. As her strength improved, so did her exposure to the harsh realities that often accompany aging. At her latest medical checkup, Dr. Harris delivered troubling news. "Grace, your cardiovascular health has declined," he said cautiously. "While your muscles have improved dramatically, your heart is under strain. We need to adjust your care plan." The words hit Grace like a cold wave. She had thought muscle loss was her only battle. Now, a new enemy loomed. It was a stark reminder that aging was never simple. Every victory came with new challenges, and the journey was far from over. Determined not to let this setback define her, Grace doubled down on her health regimen, adding gentle cardio exercises recommended by a cardiac specialist. She learned about heart-healthy diets and mindfulness techniques to reduce stress. Yet, the mental toll was significant. The uncertainty gnawed at her, and some days, exhaustion took over. Emma noticed the strain during their calls. "Mom, you have to take care of yourself, body and mind," she urged. Grace nodded, realizing that healing was more than physical. It was emotional and psychological too. Seeking support, she joined a local senior wellness group where members shared stories of health battles and triumphs. The sense of community reminded her she wasn't alone. Robert, her fellow trial participant, became a steadfast friend. "We fight this together," he said one day, clapping her on the back. Grace's journey evolved from a personal mission to a shared quest, a fight not just for herself but for all those facing the complexities of aging. Through setbacks and small victories, she grew more resilient. She learned that hope was not a straight path but a winding road, full of twists that demanded courage and adaptability. Her story inspired others to embrace their struggles with honesty and determination. As Grace looked forward, she understood one thing clearly: the fight against muscle loss was just the beginning. True health required balance, patience, and an open heart. And she was ready for whatever came next. Have you faced unexpected challenges on your path to wellness? How did you adapt? Let's share strength and stories below. The diagnosis shook Grace, but it also awakened something deeper inside her. She realized that strength wasn't just about muscles or physical power, it was about facing vulnerability head-on and learning to embrace it. The days following her cardiac news were filled with reflection. Grace spent more time journaling, exploring her fears and hopes. She started attending meditation classes at the community center, guided by a soft-spoken instructor named Clara, whose calm presence helped Grace find a new kind of peace. "You don't have to fight everything alone," Clara told her one afternoon after a session. "Sometimes, strength is in surrender, accepting where you are and moving forward gently." Grace struggled with the idea at first. She was used to pushing through pain, refusing to slow down. But the meditation brought moments of clarity, moments where she felt the tight grip of anxiety loosen. She also leaned more on her family. Emma's calls became a lifeline, filled with encouragement and laughter. Jake's visits brought fresh air and youthful energy to the house, reminding Grace of life's ongoing possibilities. One afternoon, Robert stopped by with a batch of homemade soup. "Healing is messy," he said, "but sharing it makes it easier." Their friendship deepened into a steady support system, a reminder that connection was a vital part of health. Grace's blog transformed as well. She began writing about vulnerability and resilience, sharing her struggles openly. Readers responded with heartfelt messages, grateful for her honesty. "Your story helps me face my own fears," one comment read. Another said, "Thank you for reminding me it's okay not to be okay." Through these connections, Grace found purpose beyond personal healing. She became a beacon of hope for others navigating their own uncertain paths. The supplement continued to work its magic, but Grace now understood that true wellness required balance, physical strength, emotional openness, and social connection. She made peace with the idea that healing was a journey, not a destination. One evening, as she sat by the fireplace with a warm cup of tea, Grace smiled quietly to herself. She had come far, not just in muscle mass, but in heart. And she knew the best chapters were still ahead. What does strength mean to you? How do you embrace your vulnerabilities? Share your thoughts below. The crisp autumn air brushed against Grace's face as she stepped outside, the soft crunch of fallen leaves beneath her feet marking a new chapter. The world around her was changing, just as she was. Every step was a testament to her determination, a symbol of the battles she had fought and the victories she had claimed. For months, Grace had followed the clinical trial regimen with unwavering commitment. The blend of supplements, exercise, mindfulness, and community support was slowly transforming her. She no longer felt like a prisoner to her age or her body. But it wasn't just about the physical changes anymore. It was the way she held herself, the quiet confidence in her posture, the spark in her eyes when she spoke of the future. Her mornings began with stretches beside the window, sunlight spilling over her worn journal where she recorded her progress. The small victories. Climbing stairs without hesitation, waking up without pain, laughing without holding back, filled pages with hope. One chilly October afternoon, Grace received a call that would shake the foundation of her newfound strength. It was Dr. Harris. "Grace," he said, voice tinged with excitement and something else, anticipation. "The data from your recent assessments have caught the attention of a research foundation. They want to feature your story in an upcoming health symposium focused on aging and regenerative medicine." Grace felt a rush of emotions, pride, disbelief, and an overwhelming sense of responsibility. "This is bigger than me," she whispered to herself. "It's about everyone who has ever felt forgotten." Preparing for the symposium was a whirlwind of activity. Emma helped Grace organize her notes, turning her journal entries into a compelling narrative. Jake volunteered to create a presentation, capturing the heart of her journey with images and videos. As the day approached, Grace's nerves grew. Speaking before a crowd was no small feat, but she reminded herself of Clara's words about strength and vulnerability. On the day of the symposium, the venue buzzed with experts, caregivers, and seniors eager to learn. When Grace took the stage, she looked out over the audience, feeling a calm settle over her. She shared her story, the pain of muscle loss, the fear of decline, and the shock of discovering that her body could regenerate. She spoke of the supplements, the exercise, the mental battles, and the power of community. Her words resonated deeply. She saw nods of understanding, eyes bright with hope. Questions poured in afterward, and Grace answered each with honesty and warmth. The event was more than a presentation, it was a celebration of resilience, a call to action. Afterward, several researchers approached her, eager to collaborate and expand the trial. Grace realized she was no longer just a participant, she was an advocate, a catalyst for change. Back home, the family gathered to celebrate. Emma toasted to Grace's courage, Jake promised to keep pushing for awareness. That night, Grace sat by the window again, watching the stars. She felt a profound sense of peace. The journey had been long and filled with unexpected turns. But through it all, Grace had broken barriers, not just physical, but societal and personal. She understood now that aging was not a sentence but a challenge. A challenge she was ready to meet head-on. And as she drifted to sleep, her heart was full of hope for the future. Have you ever had to step out of your comfort zone to inspire change? Share your story and keep the conversation going. The excitement from the symposium still lingered in Grace's heart weeks after the event. But as the spotlight faded, a new reality settled in: how to keep the momentum going and transform hope into lasting change. Grace's blog, once a quiet corner of the internet, blossomed into a vibrant community. Comments, messages, and shared stories flooded in from all across the country. Seniors, caregivers, doctors, and even younger people seeking preventative measures reached out, eager for guidance and inspiration. Emma marveled at how her mother's experience had struck a chord. "Mom, you're touching so many lives," she said one afternoon as they scrolled through heartfelt messages. Grace smiled softly, feeling the weight of responsibility but also the warmth of connection. One message stood out, a letter from a woman named Linda, living in a small town miles away. Linda shared her own struggles with muscle loss and expressed hope that Grace's story could spark change in her community. Grace knew she couldn't keep this knowledge to herself. She began organizing virtual meetups and webinars, partnering with healthcare professionals to share the latest findings on muscle preservation and aging. The ripple effect was unmistakable. Stories of transformation emerged from all corners: a retired teacher regaining her mobility, a veteran finding renewed purpose, a caregiver learning how to support her aging mother better. Through these connections, Grace learned that the fight against muscle loss was deeply personal yet universal. One afternoon, during a virtual session, a young researcher named Dr. Patel introduced a new study building on the supplement's promising results. She invited Grace and other participants to join as advocates and advisors. "This is about more than medicine," Dr. Patel explained. "It's about empowering people with knowledge and support." Grace felt a surge of pride and determination. She was no longer just a patient, she was part of a movement. But the journey wasn't without its hurdles. Some skeptics questioned the legitimacy of the supplements. Others criticized the focus on aging as a disease rather than a natural process. Grace learned to navigate these debates with grace and patience, always returning to her core message: hope, science, and human connection could change the narrative. Through it all, her family remained her anchor. Jake's enthusiasm for volunteering at the clinic grew, while Emma continued managing Grace's growing platform. At home, quiet moments of reflection brought gratitude. Grace often thought about how far she'd come, from feeling helpless and invisible to becoming a beacon of change. One evening, as the sun dipped low, she sat on the porch with a cup of tea, the cool breeze carrying the scent of fall. "Life isn't about avoiding the storms," she whispered. "It's about learning to dance in the rain." And with every new story, every life touched, Grace knew her dance had just begun. Has a single story or person ever inspired you to make a change? Share your experiences and keep the ripple going. The momentum Grace had built began to feel fragile, as the realities of her condition and the world around her pressed back. Despite her success with muscle recovery and the growing community she inspired, there were moments of doubt, moments when hope seemed distant, and the future uncertain. One cold winter morning, Grace awoke with a deep ache in her joints, a reminder that aging was still a formidable adversary. The supplements and exercises hadn't erased all pain, and the new cardiac issues lingered. At her latest doctor's appointment, Dr. Harris spoke gently but honestly. "Grace, your progress is remarkable, but we need to be realistic. Aging brings complexities that no supplement can fully solve." The word stung, yet Grace appreciated the candor. It was a balancing act, holding on to hope without denying reality. Back home, she grappled with frustration and fatigue. She confided in Emma during a tearful phone call. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm just delaying the inevitable," she admitted. Emma's voice was steady. "Mom, hope isn't about ignoring the hard parts. It's about choosing to keep moving forward, even when it's tough." That conversation became a turning point. Grace realized that embracing vulnerability meant acknowledging fears without letting them dictate her life. She sought out therapy sessions to explore these feelings, finding unexpected strength in confronting her anxieties. Meanwhile, the online community faced similar struggles. Some members shared setbacks or relapses, others questioned the efficacy of treatments. Grace responded with empathy and transparency, reminding everyone that healing wasn't linear. One message from a young man battling chronic illness resonated deeply. "Your honesty helps me see that setbacks aren't failures, they're part of the journey." Grace's evolving narrative, one that included both triumph and challenge, became more authentic and relatable. She also began advocating for broader conversations about aging, mental health, and the importance of holistic care. Her collaboration with Dr. Patel's team expanded, focusing on personalized approaches that addressed physical, emotional, and social health. At home, the family adapted as well. Jake helped with household chores, easing Grace's burden. Emma encouraged her mother to celebrate small victories. One evening, as Grace gazed at the winter sky, she reflected on the paradox of hope and doubt. They weren't opposites but companions, each giving meaning to the other. She understood now that strength was not just in recovery but in resilience, the courage to face the unknown. With renewed clarity, Grace prepared to share this new chapter of her story with the world. Because sometimes, the greatest hope lies in embracing the full spectrum of human experience. Have you faced moments when hope and doubt collided? How did you find balance? Share your story and inspire others. After navigating the waves of hope and doubt, Grace realized there was one truth she couldn't ignore: she was stronger when she wasn't alone. The past year had taught her that healing extended far beyond medicine and exercise. It was deeply rooted in the connections she forged with others. With renewed purpose, Grace set out to build a support network, not only for herself but for the growing community she had inspired. She reached out to local senior centers, healthcare providers, and wellness coaches, creating partnerships to host workshops focused on muscle health, nutrition, and mental well-being. Her efforts blossomed into a monthly gathering called Strength Together, a welcoming space where seniors shared their stories, fears, and victories. The first meeting was small but heartfelt. Grace sat in a circle with 10 others, people from diverse backgrounds, each carrying their own battles with aging. Among them was Martha, a retired nurse whose sharp wit masked deep loneliness, Carlos, a former construction worker struggling with mobility, and Linda, the woman who had first reached out to Grace months earlier. As they spoke, Grace noticed the atmosphere shift from tentative to warm. Laughter mixed with tears. Advice was exchanged freely, and hope rekindled in unexpected ways. The group quickly became a lifeline for many. Grace also encouraged members to support one another outside the meetings. Phone calls, grocery runs, and shared meals fostered a sense of family. Emma volunteered to help manage the group's online presence, expanding their reach and enabling those who couldn't attend in person to participate virtually. Jake offered his handyman skills, making homes safer and more accessible for members facing physical challenges. The ripple effect was clear: connection empowered healing. But building this network wasn't without its challenges. Some seniors were wary, hesitant to share personal struggles. Others faced logistical hurdles, transportation, health crises, or skepticism about new treatments. Grace tackled these obstacles with patience and creativity. She coordinated rides, arranged guest speakers, and always emphasized empathy. One day, Martha confided in Grace about her fear of becoming a burden to her family. Grace took her hand gently. "We all need help sometimes," she said. "There's strength in asking." That simple truth echoed throughout the group, breaking down walls and fostering trust. As winter melted into spring, the Strength Together community grew stronger, a beacon of hope for many navigating the challenges of aging. Grace found herself not only healed physically but enriched emotionally by the bonds she helped create. She realized that aging wasn't a solitary journey but a shared experience, one that thrived on compassion, understanding, and mutual support. One evening, as Grace prepared for another workshop, she paused to reflect on her path. From the depths of despair to the heights of advocacy, every step had been shaped by the people who stood beside her. And in that moment, she knew the greatest strength wasn't in muscle alone, it was in the power of connection. Who supports you when life gets tough? How have connections helped you heal? Share your story and build our community. Spring had brought new life to the town, blooming flowers and longer days mirroring Grace's own renewed energy. But life, as she had learned, rarely followed a straight path. Just as things seemed to align perfectly, Grace faced an unexpected obstacle, one that threatened to undermine all her progress. It started with a subtle pain, a tightness in her shoulder that she shrugged off as overuse. But over days, the discomfort grew into something sharper, more persistent. Her once reliable body, which had responded so well to the supplement and exercise regimen, now felt unpredictable. Dr. Harris grew concerned. "Grace, this might be an inflammatory response," he explained during a visit. "Sometimes, muscle rebuilding can trigger flare-ups. We need to adjust your plan." Grace felt frustration bubble inside her. After months of steady improvement, the thought of setbacks was crushing. "It's like climbing a mountain and sliding back a few steps," she confided to Emma later that day. "How do you keep going when the path suddenly gets steep again?" Emma squeezed her mother's hand. "One step at a time. You're not alone on this climb." Determined to face this new challenge, Grace consulted with specialists, a physical therapist named Mia, a nutritionist named Alan, and a psychologist named Claire. Together, they crafted a tailored plan addressing inflammation, pain management, and mental resilience. Mia introduced gentle, targeted exercises to ease the shoulder tension, emphasizing mindfulness to avoid pushing too hard. Alan adjusted Grace's diet, incorporating anti-inflammatory foods rich in omega-3s, antioxidants, and essential vitamins. Claire guided Grace through cognitive behavioral techniques, helping her reframe setbacks not as failures but as natural parts of healing. The collaborative approach brought fresh hope. Though progress was slower, Grace appreciated the holistic care, her body and mind both tended with care. Meanwhile, the Strength Together community rallied around her, sharing advice and encouragement. One member, Carlos, shared his own experience with flare-ups, reminding Grace that patience was vital. At home, Jake helped with daily tasks, while Emma kept spirits high with her endless optimism. Grace journaled each day, documenting her pain, small wins, and emotional shifts. Through this process, she discovered a new kind of strength, the courage to be vulnerable and the wisdom to accept help. She also realized that healing was rarely a straight line, it was a winding road with peaks and valleys. One afternoon, as Grace sat in Mia's therapy room, she looked at her reflection in the mirror. Despite the pain, she saw a woman who refused to give up, a woman whose journey had become a testament to resilience. Progress isn't always visible, Mia said softly. But every step counts. Grace nodded, feeling a renewed determination settle within. Her story, she knew, wasn't just about muscle loss, it was about the human spirit's ability to adapt, overcome, and find light even in shadows. Have you faced unexpected setbacks on your path? How did you find the strength to keep moving forward? Share your experiences and inspire others. After weeks of battling the frustrating flare-up in her shoulder, Grace began to feel the weight of isolation creeping back in. Despite the supportive circle she'd built, the nagging pain often made her retreat inward, second-guessing her progress and fearing she might disappoint those counting on her. One chilly afternoon, as she sat on a bench in the park near her home, a man approached her cautiously. He looked to be in his early 60s, with kind eyes framed by wire-rimmed glasses and a gentle smile. "Mind if I sit?" he asked. Grace nodded, curious but guarded. "I'm Tom," he said, extending a hand. "I couldn't help but overhear you talking to your phone earlier. Sounds like you're doing some serious work on yourself." Grace laughed softly. "Yeah, it's a bit of a journey." Tom settled beside her and shared his own story. A retired engineer who had recently been diagnosed with sarcopenia, the very muscle loss Grace had been fighting. He had been skeptical about treatments and overwhelmed by medical jargon. "I thought I was just getting old," Tom said. "Didn't realize there were things I could do." They talked for hours, sharing fears and hopes. Tom admitted he'd been reluctant to join any support groups or therapy sessions but found himself inspired by Grace's courage. Over the next few weeks, Tom became a regular presence in Grace's life. He attended her Strength Together meetings and even volunteered to help organize transportation for seniors who struggled to get to events. Grace found in Tom not only a friend but an unexpected ally, someone whose practical skills and gentle encouragement helped fill gaps she hadn't noticed. Their partnership grew stronger as they collaborated on a local awareness campaign, designing flyers and social media posts to educate the community about muscle health and aging. Together, they reached out to physicians, community centers, and even local schools, aiming to bridge generational divides and promote preventative care early in life. Tom's pragmatic approach complemented Grace's empathy perfectly, and their combined efforts energized the movement. But it wasn't just about outreach. Tom's presence brought Grace emotional balance during difficult days when pain flared or motivation waned. One evening, as snow blanketed the town, Grace confided in him about her fears of regression. "Sometimes it feels like I'm fighting a losing battle," she admitted. Tom shook his head gently. "It's not about winning or losing. It's about showing up, day after day. That's where the real victory lies." His words struck a chord deep within Grace. In Tom, she saw the power of connection not just as comfort, but as strength. Their friendship reminded her that allies often come from unexpected places, and that together, even the toughest challenges become manageable. As spring gave way to summer, the community they built flourished. New members joined, strength together, inspired by the message that aging could be met with hope, resilience, and unity. Grace and Tom's campaign reached a milestone when a local newspaper ran a feature on their work, sparking broader interest and funding opportunities. For Grace, this chapter was more than a success, it was proof that healing was a collective journey. And as she stood on the stage during a community health fair, addressing an eager crowd, she felt a profound gratitude for the unexpected ally who had helped transform her path. Because sometimes, the greatest strength isn't going it alone, but finding the right hand to hold. Have you found support in unexpected places? How did that change your journey? Share your story and inspire connection. As summer's warmth settled over the town, Grace found herself facing a new battle, one not with her body, but with society's perception of aging. Though her physical journey had been transformative, she realized that many of the greatest obstacles still lay in the invisible barriers of stigma and misunderstanding. At a local community event, Grace overheard a conversation that stirred something deep within her. Two younger women were talking about their grandmother, dismissing her declining mobility as just old age and suggesting she was losing her mind. The casual cruelty of those words hit Grace like a punch. How many times have we heard this, she wondered silently. Grace knew that stereotypes about aging weren't just hurtful, they were dangerous. They discouraged seniors from seeking help and reinforced feelings of isolation and helplessness. Determined to change the narrative, Grace partnered with Tom and Emma to launch an educational campaign called Aging with Strength. Their mission was to highlight not only the challenges of aging but also the power and resilience seniors possessed. The campaign used storytelling, video testimonials, and community workshops to break down myths and promote a more compassionate understanding. Grace shared her own story openly, describing her struggles with muscle loss, heart issues, and emotional battles. She emphasized that aging was not a uniform decline but a complex journey with potential for growth and adaptation. One of the most powerful moments came during a panel discussion at the local library. Grace, Tom, and several other seniors spoke candidly about their experiences, confronting misconceptions head-on. Audience members asked questions, many expressing surprise at the proactive steps seniors were taking to maintain health and vitality. Emma moderated, weaving in scientific insights and encouraging intergenerational dialogue. The event was a turning point, sparking conversations that extended beyond the room and into homes, schools, and workplaces. Still, resistance persisted. Some critics dismissed the campaign as denying reality or glorifying aging. Grace faced these criticisms with grace and firmness, reminding everyone that respect and dignity were rights, not privileges. She drew on the words of a mentor she once met during a hospital stay: aging isn't about decline, it's about accumulation, the gathering of wisdom, experience, and strength. Gradually, more voices joined the movement: health professionals, caregivers, educators, all united in reshaping society's view of aging. Grace found renewed purpose in this advocacy, recognizing that true change required shifting hearts and minds as much as healing bodies. At home, the family rallied around her. Emma's social media savvy helped amplify the message online, while Jake organized community fitness classes tailored for seniors. Together, they created a vibrant ecosystem of support, education, and empowerment. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Grace stood before a group of local leaders and policymakers, delivering a passionate speech. "Every one of us will age," she said, "and how we choose to see that journey will define our communities and ourselves." Her words resonated deeply, earning applause and commitments to improve resources and accessibility for seniors. That night, Grace reflected on how far she had come, from feeling powerless to becoming a catalyst for cultural change. She understood now that fighting muscle loss was not just a personal mission but a societal one. Breaking barriers meant dismantling prejudice, fostering empathy, and celebrating the strength found in every stage of life. As she closed her journal, Grace smiled, knowing this was only the beginning. How have you challenged stereotypes or changed perceptions in your community? Share your story and help break barriers. Grace had come a long way since the early days of uncertainty and fear. Yet, despite her progress, she remained determined to uncover every possible avenue to fight muscle loss. Both for herself and the community she had inspired. One afternoon, while reviewing research articles and medical journals, Grace stumbled across a study that caught her eye, a report detailing a breakthrough discovery about a naturally occurring compound that could significantly slow muscle degradation in seniors. The compound was called NAD+, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, a molecule essential for cellular energy production and repair. Researchers suggested that NAD+ levels declined with age, contributing to muscle weakness and frailty. What intrigued Grace most was the mention of a simple, natural supplement that could boost NAD+ production in the body, potentially reversing some effects of muscle loss. Excited yet cautious, Grace decided to bring this finding to Dr. Harris and the team. During their next appointment, she shared the study and her thoughts. Dr. Harris smiled thoughtfully. "This is promising, Grace. NAD+ is gaining attention in the scientific community, but we need to be careful and ensure any supplement is safe and effective." The medical team agreed to integrate NAD+ boosters into Grace's regimen on a trial basis, carefully monitoring her response. Over the next few weeks, Grace noticed subtle but encouraging changes. Her stamina improved, and the persistent shoulder pain began to ease. Most importantly, her strength training sessions felt more productive. Her optimism soared, but she tempered it with realism, knowing that one breakthrough wouldn't erase years of damage overnight. Meanwhile, Grace shared the news with the Strength Together community, sparking curiosity and cautious hope among members. She organized informational sessions with experts to discuss NAD+ and other emerging treatments, emphasizing the importance of evidence-based approaches. Tom volunteered to research credible suppliers for NAD+ supplements, ensuring accessibility and affordability for the group. Emma crafted engaging content to explain the science behind NAD+ in a way everyone could understand, making complex ideas approachable and empowering. The campaign gained momentum, attracting attention from local media and health professionals interested in the community's proactive stance. But with progress came challenges. Some members reported side effects or questioned the hype around new supplements. Grace encouraged open dialogue and emphasized patience. She also reminded everyone that supplements were just one piece of a holistic puzzle. Nutrition, exercise, emotional support, and medical care all played vital roles. As Grace's body responded positively, she reflected on the journey that had led her here, the countless obstacles, the emotional highs and lows, the unwavering support of friends and family. She realized that breakthroughs were more than scientific advances, they were symbols of hope, reminders that even in the face of aging, innovation could pave new paths. One evening, as Grace journaled by the window, watching the stars emerge, she felt a profound sense of gratitude. For the resilience within herself, the connections she'd built, and the ever-evolving knowledge that fueled her fight. Her story was far from over, but this chapter, a breakthrough born from curiosity and determination, sparked a new light in her path. And with that light, she was ready to keep moving forward. Have you experienced a breakthrough that changed your outlook or health journey? Share your story and inspire hope. After the initial excitement surrounding the NAD+ supplement, Grace felt a surge of optimism. Her strength was improving, and she was beginning to believe that the worst was behind her. But life has a way of testing our resolve, and Grace soon encountered a setback that challenged everything she thought she knew about progress. It started as a mild fatigue, easily dismissed after a long day. But gradually, the tiredness deepened, accompanied by dizziness and moments of breathlessness. One morning, as Grace struggled to climb the stairs, she felt an alarming tightness in her chest. Fear gripped her. Could this be a sign her heart condition was worsening? At the hospital, tests revealed something unexpected, a minor cardiac arrhythmia, likely triggered by the new supplement interacting with her medications. The news hit her like a thunderclap. "I've come so far," Grace whispered to Emma, tears welling in her eyes. "How can this happen now?" Emma held her close. "We'll get through this. You're not alone." Dr. Harris explained that while the NAD+ supplements held promise, they weren't without risks, especially for someone with Grace's complex health history. The treatment plan needed immediate revision. Grace faced a difficult decision: stop the supplement and potentially lose the gains she'd made, or continue risking her heart stability. After many sleepless nights and conversations with her family and medical team, Grace chose caution. The supplements were paused, and a new focus on gentle physical therapy and heart-friendly nutrition was adopted. The emotional toll was immense. Grace battled frustration, disappointment, and a creeping sense of helplessness. Months of hard work seemed to unravel before her eyes. Yet, amid the darkness, a flicker of hope remained. Her community rallied, offering encouragement and reminding her of the progress that wasn't easily undone. Tom organized weekly calls, keeping spirits high. Emma's daily texts were a lifeline. Even strangers from the Strength Together online forum shared stories of setbacks and comebacks, reinforcing that healing was rarely linear. Grace began to see this setback not as a failure, but as a new chapter, a reminder that healing required adaptability and patience. She immersed herself in mindfulness practices, learning to listen to her body and honor its limits. With support, she rediscovered joy in small victories: a morning without pain, a laugh shared with a friend, a moment of peace. Her journey became about more than muscle loss or supplements; it was about resilience in the face of unpredictability. As autumn leaves turned fiery red, Grace found strength in vulnerability and courage in uncertainty. And while the road ahead remained uncertain, she was ready to walk it with open eyes and an open heart. Have you faced unexpected setbacks in your health journey? How did you cope and find strength to continue? Share your story and inspire others. Winter had wrapped the town in a quiet, frosty embrace, and inside her cozy home, Grace found herself reflecting on the tumultuous months behind her. The unexpected setback with her heart had forced her to pause and rethink her approach, but it hadn't broken her spirit. Instead, it opened the door to something deeper: an appreciation for small victories and the power they held. After her doctors advised her to discontinue the NAD+ supplement, Grace was initially devastated. She felt like she was starting over, facing the same uphill battle she'd fought so hard to climb. But in those moments of vulnerability, she discovered the importance of patience and the value of honoring her body's signals. Her days became focused on gentle movement. Slow stretches, short walks, and mindful breathing. No longer pushing for big leaps, she embraced the tiny steps that brought incremental progress. One chilly morning, as she carefully rose from her chair without assistance, a wave of quiet joy washed over her. It was a small act, but for Grace, it symbolized a triumph over limitation. She began keeping a victory journal, where every accomplishment, no matter how minor, was recorded. From standing a little longer to preparing a nutritious meal, these moments stitched together a tapestry of resilience. Her family noticed the shift. Emma smiled wider, Jake offered more encouragement, and even Tom remarked on the calm strength Grace now exuded. In community meetings, Grace shared this new philosophy. "It's easy to focus on what we can't do," she told the group, "but every little win counts. They add up." The Strength Together members embraced this mindset, reporting improved morale and sustained motivation. Grace also explored new creative outlets, painting and writing, which helped her process emotions and maintain a positive outlook. Her healthcare team supported this holistic approach. Physical therapist Mia designed a personalized routine focused on balance and flexibility, reducing risk of injury while enhancing mobility. Nutritionist Alan refined Grace's diet to include anti-inflammatory foods and heart-healthy options that complemented her condition. Psychologist Claire continued to provide tools for emotional resilience, emphasizing mindfulness and self-compassion. Together, they created a nurturing environment where healing was measured in progress, not perfection. One afternoon, Grace received a letter from a community member who had been inspired by her story. "Your journey taught me to appreciate the small things," it read. "Thank you for showing that strength isn't always about pushing harder, it's about moving forward, however we can." This message touched Grace deeply. It was a reminder that her experience was not just personal but part of a collective human story. As winter gave way to spring, Grace felt a renewed sense of purpose. She was not just surviving, she was thriving in her own way. The setbacks had humbled her but also strengthened her resolve. Her story became a beacon of hope, not for miraculous cures, but for the courage found in persistence and the beauty of everyday victories. And as she looked out at the blossoming world beyond her window, Grace knew that no matter what came next, she would face it with grace and gratitude. What small victories have kept you moving forward? Share your stories and celebrate the strength in every step. Spring had fully blossomed, filling the town with colors and life, and Grace was embracing her new rhythm of slow, steady progress. Yet, life had one more surprise in store for her, one that would open a new chapter filled with unexpected mentorship and profound learning. It happened at a local senior center, where Grace had started volunteering as part of her community engagement. On a sunny Tuesday afternoon, as she helped organize books in the library corner, she met a man named Walter, an 82-year-old former athlete turned physical therapist, known for his unconventional but effective methods in combating muscle loss among seniors. Walter was unlike anyone Grace had encountered. His energy was infectious, his eyes twinkling with the wisdom of experience, and his presence commanded attention without demanding it. As they talked, Grace learned that Walter had dedicated his life to helping seniors regain not just strength, but confidence and purpose. "What you're doing, Grace, is admirable," Walter said, his voice steady. "But if you want to make real change, sometimes you need to think beyond the typical. Muscle loss isn't just physical, it's mental, emotional. We need to train the whole person." Intrigued, Grace agreed to attend one of Walter's workshops titled Reclaiming Vitality. The session was unlike any she'd experienced. It combined gentle physical exercises with mental conditioning techniques, breathing practices, and visualization. Walter emphasized the importance of mindset in recovery. Your body listens to your mind. Fear, doubt, and negative beliefs can weaken muscles just as much as inactivity. Grace found herself challenged and inspired. The workshop reminded her that healing was not just about external actions but internal transformation. Over the weeks, Grace developed a mentorship bond with Walter. They met regularly, discussing strategies, sharing stories, and exploring new approaches to health. Walter encouraged Grace to push her boundaries safely, introducing balance drills and mental imagery exercises that complemented her physical therapy. The impact was noticeable. Grace's coordination improved, and she began to feel more centered and energized. More importantly, she rediscovered a sense of agency, an understanding that she was not merely a patient but an active participant in her own healing. This relationship also sparked Grace's interest in holistic health. She began studying the mind-body connection and how mental well-being influenced physical strength. Her family noticed a glow about her, a newfound confidence that radiated beyond physical changes. Emma remarked one evening, "Mom, you seem lighter somehow. Like you're carrying less worry." Grace smiled. "I guess I'm learning to trust myself more." Walter's mentorship expanded beyond exercise. He shared stories from his past, including struggles with loss and perseverance, reminding Grace that resilience was built over time and through adversity. One afternoon, Walter shared a quote that stuck with Grace: "Strength is not just what you lift, it's what you carry inside." Inspired, Grace began integrating these lessons into her advocacy work, encouraging others to nurture both body and mind. At community events, she spoke openly about the importance of mental health alongside physical fitness, challenging stigmas and promoting comprehensive care. Her partnership with Walter reinvigorated her mission, transforming it from a personal quest into a movement for holistic senior wellness. As the season shifted toward summer, Grace felt ready to take on new challenges, not just for herself but for the many seniors whose lives she hoped to touch. She knew the road ahead would still have obstacles, but with her mentor's guidance and the strength she was rediscovering, she felt prepared to face whatever came next. Have you experienced mentorship that changed your perspective or approach? Share how it impacted your journey. As summer's warmth settled over the town, Grace found herself at the heart of a growing movement. What had started as a personal battle against muscle loss had blossomed into a community-wide effort, driven by shared experiences, collective hope, and the unwavering desire to redefine what it meant to age gracefully. With Walter's mentorship fueling her passion and a newfound holistic approach to wellness, Grace spearheaded the creation of Strength Together, a community program designed not just to fight muscle loss but to empower seniors to reclaim their vitality, body, mind, and spirit. The initiative was more than exercise classes or nutritional advice, it was a gathering place for connection, support, and transformation. Every week, the local community center buzzed with energy as seniors arrived, eager to participate in workshops that combined physical therapy, mental wellness, and social engagement. Grace's leadership shone through as she coordinated with experts, physical therapists, nutritionists, psychologists, to deliver comprehensive programming tailored to the unique challenges seniors faced. Tom, ever the dedicated friend, managed outreach, ensuring that even isolated seniors heard about the program and felt welcome. Emma handled communications, creating newsletters and social media posts that celebrated successes and encouraged participation. One afternoon, Grace stood before a packed room, sharing her story and inviting others to take the first step. Muscle loss is not just a personal battle, she said, her voice steady and warm. It's a community challenge, and together, we can rewrite our stories. The room erupted in applause, a tangible expression of solidarity and hope. Members shared their own experiences, stories of fear, frustration, and perseverance. Some spoke of falls they'd avoided thanks to improved balance. Others described how nutritional changes boosted their energy. The sense of belonging was palpable, and for many, it became a lifeline in navigating the complexities of aging. Grace emphasized that progress would come in many forms and at different paces, encouraging patience and compassion. We're not racing, she reminded the group. We're healing. Beyond the center's walls, the movement gained traction. Local newspapers featured the program, drawing interest from nearby towns and health professionals. Grace was invited to speak at conferences, sharing insights from her journey and the community's success. She highlighted the importance of integrating physical health with mental and emotional support, a message resonating widely. Yet, amidst the momentum, Grace remained grounded. She continued her own health regimen, balancing personal challenges with leadership responsibilities. Some days were harder than others, reminders that the path was ongoing and sometimes unpredictable. But the community's encouragement buoyed her spirit. One evening, as Grace and Walter reviewed upcoming plans, Walter remarked, "You've built something powerful here. It's not just about muscle, it's about hope." Grace nodded, feeling the truth of his words. The program was a testament to resilience, connection, and the human capacity for renewal. As summer faded into fall, Strength Together prepared to expand, introducing virtual sessions to reach seniors unable to attend in person. Grace's vision was clear, a network of support that transcended barriers, a movement that would continue to grow and inspire. Looking out at the faces gathered each week, she felt a deep sense of purpose. The journey that had once felt isolating was now a shared voyage, filled with possibility. And in that collective strength, Grace found the courage to keep moving forward, toward healing, hope, and a future redefined by the power of community. Have you been part of a community that supported your health or well-being? Share how togetherness made a difference. As the momentum of the Strength Together community grew, Grace found herself standing at a crossroads. Not just in her health journey, but in the delicate balance between hope and doubt. While the support from friends, family, and participants bolstered her spirit, she couldn't escape the lingering whispers of skepticism, both from others and within her own mind. It started subtly, as most doubts do. A comment from a distant relative questioning the effectiveness of the supplements. A news article casting shadows on the benefits of alternative therapies. Even casual remarks from acquaintances who doubted the idea that seniors could truly reverse muscle loss. Each comment, though small on its own, chipped away at Grace's confidence. The very progress she had worked so hard to achieve felt fragile under scrutiny. Worse still were the moments of self-doubt that crept in during quiet nights. Am I fooling myself, she wondered. Is this just wishful thinking? The mental battle was as taxing as any physical challenge she'd faced. During one particularly low evening, Grace sat by her window watching the rain fall. The gray sky mirrored the storm inside her. She reached for her journal, the one she had kept since the early days of her journey. Flipping through pages filled with victories and setbacks, she found a note she had written months earlier: "Strength isn't just about muscle, it's about heart." The words resonated deeply. Determined to confront these doubts head-on, Grace sought the counsel of Claire, her psychologist. In their sessions, Claire encouraged Grace to separate fact from fear, to recognize that skepticism was a natural part of any transformative process. Doubt doesn't mean failure, Claire reminded her gently. It means you're human. Use it as a guide, not a jailer. With this new perspective, Grace began practicing mindfulness techniques to observe her worries without judgment. She also opened up to her community, sharing her struggles and vulnerability, a move that deepened the bond she had forged. The Strength Together group became a space not only for physical healing but for emotional honesty. Members exchanged stories of their own inner battles, creating a tapestry of shared resilience. One member, Martha, a retired teacher, spoke about the stigma of aging and the fear of being dismissed. Another, Robert, confessed how he had hidden his limitations for years, afraid of appearing weak. These conversations illuminated a profound truth. The fight against muscle loss was intertwined with the fight against societal perceptions and self-imposed barriers. Grace realized that her journey was about more than supplements or exercise, it was about reclaiming identity, dignity, and hope. Meanwhile, she continued to navigate external skepticism with grace and patience. When questioned by medical professionals skeptical of her supplement regimen, she engaged openly, sharing her experiences and listening to evidence-based advice. She understood the importance of balance, between innovation and caution, hope and science. This approach earned respect and helped bridge divides, fostering dialogue rather than division. Through these challenges, Grace's resilience deepened. She learned to hold space for uncertainty while maintaining faith in her capacity to heal. Her story became one not just of physical transformation, but of courage in the face of doubt. As autumn leaves began to fall, Grace felt a renewed sense of purpose. She was not alone in her battles, and neither was anyone else who faced the complex realities of aging. Her journey was a testament to the power of vulnerability, community, and unwavering hope. And with every step, sometimes shaky, sometimes sure, Grace moved forward, embracing the full spectrum of her experience. Have you ever faced doubts or skepticism on your health journey? How did you overcome them? Share your story to inspire others. Winter was creeping in again, but inside the community center, a new sense of energy filled the air. Months of persistence, collaboration, and hope were about to culminate in something extraordinary. Grace had been quietly working alongside Walter, her healthcare team, and a small group of passionate volunteers to pilot an innovative program that blended cutting-edge science with the holistic practices they had championed all along. The project was ambitious, to combine the latest research on muscle loss prevention in seniors with personalized nutrition, exercise, and mental wellness. It was a culmination of everything Grace had learned. From her own experiences to the mentorship of Walter, the support of her community, and the growing network of professionals invested in her cause. The program's foundation rested on a groundbreaking discovery that had recently made waves in scientific circles, a natural compound shown to stimulate muscle regeneration and combat sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass. This compound, derived from a rare plant found in remote regions, promised hope where traditional treatments had often fallen short. Grace remembered the first time she read about it in a medical journal. Her heart raced with cautious optimism. Could this be the answer she'd been searching for? The possibility was thrilling but tempered with realism. She knew firsthand that no single solution could replace perseverance and holistic care. Over the next several months, the pilot program enrolled a select group of seniors, including Grace herself. The participants received tailored meal plans enriched with the compound, supervised physical therapy sessions inspired by Walter's methods, and mindfulness training to support mental resilience. Grace threw herself into the process, eager to see what the combination might yield. The initial weeks were subtle, slight increases in energy, improved mood, a growing sense of well-being. Yet, she reminded herself that true transformation took time. As winter deepened, so did the participants' commitment. They gathered regularly, sharing stories, progress, and encouragement. Grace noticed remarkable changes, not just in muscle strength, but in confidence and social connection. One afternoon, during a session focused on balance and coordination, Grace surprised even herself. With steady determination, she stood unaided for a full minute, longer than she had managed in years. Cheers erupted from the group. Tears welled in Grace's eyes. This small victory was monumental, a testament to science and spirit working in harmony. Walter approached her afterward, a proud smile creasing his weathered face. "This is just the beginning, Grace. Imagine what's possible if we keep pushing." Inspired, Grace shared the pilot's early success with local health officials and researchers. The response was overwhelmingly positive, sparking interest in expanding the program. She became a vocal advocate for integrating innovative science with personalized care, emphasizing the importance of hope grounded in evidence. Yet, even amid breakthroughs, Grace remained mindful of the journey's challenges. The progress wasn't linear, there were setbacks, days of fatigue, moments of doubt. But the collective strength of the community and the promise of new science fueled her resilience. As she looked ahead, Grace envisioned a future where aging wasn't defined by loss but by vitality, connection, and possibility. Her story, once marked by fear and uncertainty, had transformed into one of discovery and hope, a beacon for seniors everywhere. Have you experienced a breakthrough that changed your outlook on health or aging? Share your moments of hope and transformation. Just as winter began to thaw, bringing with it the first hints of spring, Grace faced an unforeseen challenge, one that tested her resolve more than any physical hurdle she had overcome before. After months of steady progress and breakthrough moments, a sudden health scare threatened to unravel everything she had worked for. It started innocuously enough. Grace noticed a slight discomfort in her chest during a morning walk with Emma. At first, she brushed it off as fatigue or stress, but when the sensation intensified and was accompanied by shortness of breath, she knew something was wrong. The emergency room visit confirmed her fears. Grace had experienced a mild heart attack. The diagnosis hit her like a freight train. Suddenly, the future she had envisioned, one filled with renewed strength and vibrant health, seemed precarious, uncertain. The physical pain was compounded by the emotional weight of fear and frustration. For days, Grace lay in her hospital bed, reflecting on the journey that had brought her here. The same determination that had fueled her fight against muscle loss now faced a new test. Could she muster the strength to rise again? Walter visited frequently, offering steady encouragement and reminding her of the mind-body connection they had nurtured. "Healing is not a straight line," he said gently. "Sometimes we take steps back before moving forward." Grace's family rallied around her, providing love and support that felt like a lifeline. Emma took on more responsibilities at home, and Tom coordinated with medical professionals to ensure she received comprehensive care. The setback forced Grace to slow down, to listen to her body in a way she hadn't before. Physical therapy resumed, this time with a focus on cardiac rehabilitation, blending carefully monitored exercises with breathing techniques and meditation. Though progress was slow, Grace refused to surrender. She leaned into the community she had helped build, drawing strength from shared stories of resilience. During a video call with the Strength Together group, Grace shared her experience openly, acknowledging the fear and frustration but also the hope that carried her through. Her vulnerability deepened the group's bond, inspiring others facing their own health challenges. In the weeks that followed, Grace adopted new habits to support her heart health, adjusting her diet and routines while maintaining the muscle-strengthening practices she'd embraced. Her medical team praised her holistic approach, noting improvements in both physical and mental well-being. This chapter of her journey revealed a powerful truth: healing was multifaceted, requiring patience, adaptation, and self-compassion. Grace emerged from the setback with a renewed sense of purpose. The heart attack was not the end of her story but a poignant reminder of life's fragility, and the resilience of the human spirit. She resolved to advocate not only for muscle health but for comprehensive senior wellness, encompassing heart health, mental wellness, and community support. Her vision expanded, fueled by experience and empathy. As spring flowers bloomed outside her window, Grace felt a profound gratitude, for survival, for connection, and for the unyielding will to keep moving forward. Have you ever faced an unexpected health setback? How did you navigate the challenge? Your story could inspire others, please share it below. After the shock of her heart attack and the slow, steady path of recovery, Grace found herself standing at a new threshold. This was no longer just a fight against muscle loss or a quest for physical fitness, it had evolved into a holistic journey toward renewal, of body, mind, and soul. Spring's soft sunlight streamed through the windows of the community center as Grace prepared for her first post-recovery session with the Strength Together group. The faces of familiar friends smiled back at her, a living testament to the power of connection and perseverance. Her body was different now, still healing, still regaining, but her spirit burned brighter than ever. The months following her cardiac event had taught her the necessity of patience and self-compassion. The same fire that had driven her to transform her life now guided her to respect its rhythms, to listen deeply, and to celebrate every small victory. With Walter's guidance, she approached physical therapy with renewed determination yet tempered expectations. Each session was a delicate balance of pushing limits and honoring recovery. She worked on rebuilding muscle strength, improving cardiovascular health, and restoring flexibility. The exercises were designed to be gentle yet effective, a far cry from the rigorous routines she'd once imagined, but perfect for this stage of healing. Nutrition, too, became more nuanced. Grace collaborated with a nutritionist to craft a diet that supported heart health alongside muscle maintenance. Fresh vegetables, lean proteins, whole grains, and the scientifically backed supplement that had sparked her earlier progress now formed the core of her meals. Mental wellness remained a cornerstone. Meditation, journaling, and group discussions helped her navigate the emotional complexities of healing. The community center became more than a gym, it was a sanctuary where seniors shared laughter, tears, and stories of courage. One afternoon, during a mindfulness session, Grace looked around the room and saw a tapestry of resilience. Martha, who had battled arthritis, now moved with less pain. Robert had begun to walk without his cane. Emma shared how her chronic fatigue was easing. Their collective progress was a balm to Grace's soul. The journey was far from over. Setbacks and frustrations still surfaced, moments when the future seemed uncertain. But the sense of renewal, of becoming stronger, more whole, permeated every step. Grace began to document her journey with renewed purpose, writing articles and recording videos to inspire others. Her story had transformed from a personal battle to a movement of hope and empowerment. She spoke openly about vulnerability, healing, and the importance of embracing the whole self. Grace's message resonated far beyond her small town, reaching seniors across the country seeking guidance and inspiration. As spring blossomed into summer, Grace found herself reflecting on how far she had come. From the depths of despair to the heights of community, from doubt to breakthrough, setback to renewal, her journey was a living testament to the human capacity for resilience. And as she looked toward the horizon, Grace knew one thing with certainty: the road ahead, though uncertain, was filled with possibility. With strength in her body, peace in her mind, and love in her heart, she was ready to keep moving forward. What does renewal mean to you? How have you rebuilt strength in your life after a setback? Share your thoughts and stories to encourage others. The auditorium was packed with eager faces, seniors, healthcare professionals, scientists, and media representatives all gathered to hear Grace's story and the culmination of years of struggle, hope, and discovery. The Strength Together movement had grown beyond a local initiative into a nationwide phenomenon, inspiring thousands to take charge of their health and defy the expectations of aging. Grace stood at the podium, heart pounding but steady. She scanned the crowd, catching glimpses of familiar faces: Walter, Emma, Martha, Robert, all pillars of the journey that had brought her here. Her voice was clear and unwavering as she began. Today, I want to share not just my story, but a revelation, a truth about aging, muscle loss, and the power we hold to change our futures. She paused, letting the words sink in. For years, I believed muscle loss was inevitable, a cruel fact of growing older. But the truth is, it doesn't have to be that way. She detailed the breakthrough scientific compound that had sparked the pilot program's success, a natural plant-based molecule that promotes muscle regeneration by activating dormant stem cells. But the real revelation was deeper. It was the combination of that science with community, mental wellness, and personalized care that created true transformation. She emphasized how hope, determination, and connection were as critical as any supplement or exercise regimen. Then came the moment that stunned everyone. Grace revealed that the rare compound wasn't some exotic, inaccessible substance, but something surprisingly common. Found in everyday foods and certain spices, waiting to be rediscovered and harnessed. Imagine, she said, if the key to preventing muscle loss lies not in costly pharmaceuticals, but in the foods we can easily incorporate into our diets. She shared simple recipes and strategies anyone could use, underscoring that prevention and healing were within everyone's reach. The audience erupted into applause, many moved to tears. Walter stepped forward to offer scientific validation, explaining the compound's mechanism and how decades of research had only recently unveiled its potential. Medical experts in attendance nodded in agreement, recognizing the paradigm shift this could bring to senior health care. But Grace didn't stop there. She issued a challenge, to seniors everywhere, and to society at large, to redefine what aging means. Let's shatter the myths that limit us, she urged. Let's embrace a future where strength, vitality, and joy are not confined by age. As the event closed, Grace felt a profound sense of closure and new beginning. The journey that had started with fear and uncertainty had blossomed into a movement of empowerment and possibility. Later, as she walked outside into the crisp evening air, Emma by her side, Grace smiled. The road ahead was still long, but it was bright. She knew that the story was no longer hers alone, it belonged to every person willing to fight, hope, and believe in a better tomorrow. Dr. Michael Harper, a leading geriatric specialist who collaborated with Grace, summarized the implications best. Grace's story exemplifies the power of integrating emerging science with holistic care and community support. Muscle loss isn't just a biological issue, it's intertwined with psychological and social factors. This comprehensive approach offers a revolutionary pathway for seniors to reclaim strength and independence. The discovery of a natural compound that can stimulate muscle regeneration is a game-changer, but its success hinges on how we embrace lifestyle, mindset, and connection. Grace's journey reminds us that aging doesn't have to be synonymous with decline. And here's the truth that shocked even the experts: despite the overwhelming evidence and potential, this natural compound remains largely unknown to the general public because of vested interests in the pharmaceutical industry. The battle to bring accessible, affordable muscle health solutions to seniors is ongoing. But Grace's movement has sparked a revolution, one where knowledge is power, and the future of aging is being rewritten by those who refuse to accept limitations. So, what will you do to take control of your muscle health before it's too late? Hit subscribe, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, and share this story to spark a new beginning, for yourself and for millions facing muscle loss worldwide. Remember, strength is not defined by age but by the choices we make today.